Hello, it's November 23rd, 2015, and I'm going to answer. Um, th- th- there's something going on with Donald Trump saying that he saw Muslims cheering when the World Trade Center came down. And I don't know if he saw it or not. And people, I mean, he seems to make a lot of things up. Uh, so I don't necessarily believe that he saw it. But maybe on some level, he might be tapping into my story, which is a story I've wanted to tell for a long time. Louis, could you skedaddle here? Anyway, um, I found myself uh, on my way home from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was going home to close up my storefront. I'd been paying two rents at the time and had too many jobs, and uh, I had to manage that part of my life. I had left. I left Chicago in about the year 2000, or close to it, November. In fact, it was right before Thanksgiving, actually. This is when I left Chicago and went to Santa Fe. And then a year and a half or two went by, and it was 2001, and it was August, and it was time to seal up my storefront. I was sure that I wanted to live in Santa Fe, and there was no doubt in my mind. And I'm just getting comfortable here. Um, so there was no doubt. Just this too. And there were some strange energies going on. And as I was driving home from Santa Fe, things were happening. I suddenly found myself stopped by a police, and just for a busted headlight. Nothing happened, but it was just the energy. I could feel that there was something going on, and that people following me was at an all-time high. But anyway, so I was on my way home, and I had done a reading beforehand, and it said not to go. So this is the lesson I learned, that when you're told not to do something by your cards or by uh, being a psychic, you need to listen, absolutely. And this time I tried to weasel my way out of it and give all the excuses in the world why I should go, and I did another reading, and I made it so that everything was all right. But in the back of my mind, it wasn't. But anyway, uh, I go home, and my parents are acting really strange, like not themselves. And they're old by this time, not well, but they're managing. But something wasn't well with them, and there was a whole thing about my parents almost. I just they weren't safe. Some I had realized in hindsight is 2020 that something indeed was happening to them. I just didn't know at the time what it was and what was wrong. And soon after getting home, I had a vision that was probably among the most powerful I ever had. This is 2 weeks before 9/11, and I saw buildings coming down in a great big fire, and I knew I saw the Pentagon being attacked, and I knew it was going to be attacked. And I had never had a governmental or a dream or a vision that was so specific. It ends up that I thought it was the Hancock Center, and that the buildings in Chicago, and it was really New York. but that's what I saw at the time. And it was funny that I was told later on that the plans were early on to be Chicago and that they changed it or something like that. But I saw this and it was so real. And, you know, I have never had the compulsion to go to Washington. I know a lot of things could happen, but you never get the compulsion to go there and say, I have to tell someone this personally because it's very important and it's going to happen. And I was so sure of it and I saw it so clearly. Such a disaster that I tried to go to Washington. And I got stopped for a broken taillight, and that was the second time that had happened. And I was not in my right mind. I was having these very powerful visions. And it's difficult to talk about, but I'll get on a roll soon. I got stopped, and he started harassing my dog in the car. I had a Great Pyrenees at the time, and I was really scared, and I said, don't touch my dog, and I screamed at him. So, of course, they took me to the nearest mental hospital. And it was there that I wouldn't take medication. I said I don't need any. So they had to take me to court, and I explained it, and I won. But as I was in the hospital, I was having visions, and I saw a shadow of an American flag, and that something was going to happen. And I was trying to tell them this and trying to get numbers that I could make a phone call and tell someone. But in those days before 9/11, they would think you were crazy if you were to say such a thing. So I'm in this, I was only there for a short time, but I'm in a mental hospital, and there's very elderly people there. I was the only white woman there. I didn't know what race anyone was. It seemed Middle Eastern, and it seemed Mexican, so, you know, that's like my old neighborhood. But people disenfranchised. When you go into places like that, there are people who are very disenfranchised. And this is a state mental hospital. And I was there for a short time. But in a certain way, I'm glad I was there. Because the day after the court date where I wouldn't take the medication and I won so I didn't have to take it, I've never been I did all my prophecy and work without medication. I thought that was really important to work it out and really get to know myself in order to be able to do this kind of work, which I felt I feel that I have a calling for. So I was always very sensitive to any medicines. I wanted to see everything through, so I got a hold of it, and I knew, and I had great understanding of why what happened to me did. So I never did any medication, and I got through everything to where I consider myself more mentally well than most people. But anyway, enough of that. I woke up about 9:50 in the morning, 9 o'clock, 8:50, whatever it was. But as I walked out of my room into the middle of the corridor, everyone was gathered around the television set. And I moved my way to the front, and it was 9/11. I was in such shock because I was looking into, I was still in the vision of what I had seen. And then I'm seeing it sitting in, it was just like I saw it. And I'm not real articulate. I'm a little slow when it comes to this because it pounds on you. It's difficult. But anyway, I got on my knees. I just started shaking, and I went to my knees, and I sat there in a daze watching it. But what was happening around me was even more unreal and strange. I was in the twilight zone because everyone was cheering and clapping. Yay, the towers are coming down. And look, America's under attack. And they were all like high-fiving each other. And this is over 100 people. So I went to the nursing station. After they insisted on turning it off and watching Jerry Springer. So I had that fight. So I went up to the desks and I said, why are these people cheering? And I just felt very alone and without a country at this time. And that was just a real scary bunch of time. And then I went home after a few days. Everything got straightened out. And I went back home. And that was my experience of 9/11. And I really didn't see the aftermath where people were investigating it with a fine-tooth comb and what happened and all of that. And so I missed out on that. And, you know, I've read things, I've caught up, I've seen documentaries and whatever. But I still think that we have inside our country people that hate us, and we don't realize it. And the fact is that they could, I'm not even going to bother label you, but inside you have such hatred that you could go either way if there was terrorism going on. And you would take the side that it would benefit you, but you would go either way. And you live in America in very large numbers and really secretly hate Americans. And those were my thoughts for the longest time, and which shaped my response to Donald Trump. And I've tried to learn what it fully means to me. And I guess the biggest thing would be, it's not all that it appears, not everything as it appears. That the racism I've seen from whites in my own community, I don't like calling it a community because it never really has been. That has always been palpable, and the hatred of whites by black community has always been very palpable. But those are in the generations of people. But toward the middle are the people who believe in a multicultural and multiracial society. And so these two aspects play with each other in my mind. And realize that we have to maybe become more vocal and learn what each other feels. And for the people who believe in a multicultural, multiracial society, this invention, we have to realize that we have a work of art on our hands that has been created in a vessel of time that has never existed on Earth, and that we've created something strong, and we've created something beautiful, and we've got to get the rest of we've got to reach out to marginals, or maybe they will just learn on their own what that means to be on your edge about religion enough where you'd kill someone, where you hate people enough in those ways, And it's both. It's all of us. It's that movement of us trying to reach that ideal multiracial society, and it has gotten bigger, and it has become a majority, and thank goodness that it went on. Whoever thought that we'd have an African American president? And so many things represent encouragement, but underneath it are people who really care about this one back home and really hate you. To deal with that means I think it's time that we are more out loud and deal with our feelings, so they could provide some sort of a transformation so that we can have a planet, and a planet of difference, a planet of different ages that go a whole span. And so we are living at a time where we are all the pioneers. And I hate saying this, but ISIL is a reflection of our own creation. We've created ISIL. And we started torturing people, and we started a war. And we have to always connect the fact that it's about wars and the things that happen from that, and it's also from environmental degradation and climate change. So these are the two things that we're pioneers in. And I would say that if we're going to be pioneers, we should do a better job. And I know a lot of people who are enthusiastic about creating a democracy, creating a planet that we save instead of destroy. And so that's another majority. So a lot of things are changing. But along these lines, I would say I would have to agree, even though Donald Trump doesn't say a lot of things that I agree with. I think people just understand it's just another thing that he says, and silly. And you won't build a wall because it's bad for the environment, and we have plenty of other ways of doing that. But anyway, Donald Trump was right about this. Maybe he didn't see it, but I would back him up on this one, that the people screaming and cheering at 9/11, that image haunts me. And sometimes it haunts me when I'm out there among all different peoples, because I say to myself, gee, how many people here are terrorists and really hate us and would jump at the chance to taking over, creating a really terrible massacre, or some of the things that have happened to us. And I think the only way for us to get over this and to reach peace is to really find it in ourselves to talk about this and dialogue with it in a way that is more truthful, that makes us clearer as people, that maybe creates an argument so maybe a friendship can ensue, but all sorts of things like that. But it's very profound. And when you're creating a multicultural democracy, you could only have this problem. Do we use art to solve it? Do we express ourselves? Do we vote for a candidate who is going to be all the way over to the other edge as a reaction? Or do we work through it as people and as a nation and as a planet? And I think the latter. And so this Thanksgiving, I want to give thanks for my rare and beautiful journey. To Melvin here, who's sitting here listening. And all the people who are naturally a part of this because they want to be, and that they see something, they have a similar vision for saving the planet and having a peaceful world. You know, we've played war out and we've played evil out as far as they can go. They're very limited. And so maybe it's time we try some other angles. And hence, this is my little speak out today. Anything more I should talk about? Any questions? Comments?
No.
No. Peace. Okay.